today's shir is Leila Nishmas Elimelech ben Levi Yitzchak, Osher Shmuel Chaim ben Ephraim, Tzvi ben Shragai, Esther Basara, Rivka bas Yitzchak Isaac, Miriam bas Yaakov, Tzvi Dov ben Chaim Pesach, Yitzchak ben Sarah, Devorah bas Yitzchak, Leah bas Simcha, Avraham ben Mordechai David, Reuben ben Shmuel, Chana Golda bas Yisrael, Chana Itel bas Moshe David, Yeshua ben Shmuel, Chaim ben Fega, Yaakov ben Yitzchak, Mata Leah bat Eliyahu, Mordechai Netzach ben Rivka, Shoshana bat Clara, Bati Esther bat Benyamin, Leila Nishmatam. Today's shir is entitled, Does Halacha Okay DNA? Yehuda's kind enough to give out the source sheets. I was optimistic. I made, we have enough, Yehuda? Just enough?
We have a few more.
We have a few more? Okay. Does Halacha Okay DNA? Establishing paternity in Jewish law. So we see an interesting subject. Is DNA kosher? DNA testing is kosher. We all have Mama Sarah's DNA. Chava, what does DNA stand for? Anybody know what does DNA stand for, Ruben? What?
Deoxyribonucleic acid.
Yeah.
Say what?
Deoxyribonucleic acid.
No, it stands for divine natural ability.
All right. Whoa.
Ruben, we all have Mama Sarah's divine natural ability.
I'm not moving.
No, Ruben behind you. Okay? We all have DNA of Mama Sarah, her divine natural ability. If you look source number 1, when she gave birth to a child. Source number 1, does Halacha Okay DNA? What does she say? So Sarah gave birth, how old was she?
90.
She was 100 years old, no? When she gave birth? 90. Thank you. Abraham was 100. She was 90, right? So if you look at source number 2 in Talmud Bavli, she said, who told Abraham that Sarah is going to nurse children? How many children did she have? Kama banim. She had one. So how come it says banim? That she's nursing many children? So Rabbi Levi says in source number 2, Rabbi Levi, that day, Shagamal Avraham at Yitzchak Beno, he made a big suda, and he invited all the guests. So what did the people say? They said, these old couple, they probably found a child at a doorstep, and they adopted it and made believe that it's theirs. It's not their son. So what did Abraham do in source number 2? I'm translating in English, it'll go faster. Abraham made a great suda, and he invited all the big shots of the generations, and Sarah Imenu invited all of the VIP ladies, and each one brought their their child, and she not only nursed little Yitzchak, but God made a miracle that she had enough milk in her breast to nurse all of them. Therefore it says, Heinika banim Sarah, banim. Right? But they still didn't believe it. He said, is it possible for a 90-year-old woman and Abraham's 100-year-old to have a baby? So what did God do? He made the facial features of Yitzchak exactly resemble Abraham. And everyone, without a DNA test, Yehuda, everyone acknowledged that that Abraham hoiled at Yitzchak. That Abraham and Sarah were the biological parents of Yitzchak, and it was not adopted child. So this was the original DNA. How did God made a miracle to prove that Sarah was the real mother? She had enough milk in her breast to nurse not only Yitzchak. We know only a woman that gives birth has milk, right? So to magnify the miracle, she had enough milk to nurse the other kids, and Yitzchak was a spitting image of I think it's called a chip off the old block of Abraham, right? So, does Halacha acknowledge DNA? If you look at source number 3, in Talmud Bavli, Masechta Nida, Tani Rabbanan, every human being has 3 parents. Shlosha Shutan Yesh Ba'adam. Source number 3, every human being has 3 parents. Who are the 3 parents? HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ava V'Imo. God, Father, and Mother. So every human being has 3 parents. God supplies the soul, and the human parents supply The body, right? So when a person dies, right? When a person dies, what happens? Kodesh Baruch Hu takes back his part. The soul goes back to God, and the body is left behind with the. He's buried in the same cemetery with his parents, whatever, right? But the godly soul never dies because the godly soul comes from the divine parent, and that returns upon death. And the parts that the human parents survive, the body, the shell, the bodysuit, that remains behind. Okay? So if you look at source number 3, Isha Shamala Bana Rishon Umesha Machmas Mila. Let's say Lo Yeleni, a woman.
That's 4.
Source number 4, Slicha. Source number 4, Isha Shamala Bana Rishon Umesh Machmas Mila. Lo Yeleni, a woman had a child and they circumcised the child, and Lo Yelenu, the child died after circumcision. Mala Gama Sheni Umesh Machmas Mila, and then she had another child, Lo Yelenu, and after Bris Mila, in source number 4, the second child also what? Died, Lo Yelenu. Harei Huska Shebaneo Umesh Machmas Mila. So this woman has a chazaka that her children cannot survive what? Brit Mila. Maybe the child is a hemophiliac. It doesn't matter whether the child is from, the two different kids are from one husband and a second husband. And you're not supposed to circumcise the third child.
No?
No. If a woman has, this is Shulchan Aruch Yeridei, number 4.
Didn't survive.
But if the 2 children didn't survive from a woman, even those from different husbands, you're not supposed to circumcise the third child. Tamtin lo, but you wait until he becomes what? A gadol, and he has more koach. You hear?
He's a hemophiliac.
What?
Doesn't hemophilia...
Elo tamtin lo, you wait. You wait, at yigdal v'yischazek kocho, it says. So what does that mean? Until a doctor examines him and says that he's capable to withstand Brit Mila. Right? Until a doctor examines him, right? Yeah. So anyway, let's get to our topic now about what? DNA in halacha. To establish who is the real what? Father of the child, right? So if you take a look at source number 6, source number 6, can a blood test determine the paternity of a child? Does halacha acknowledge a blood test or DNA? Source number 6, Tzitz Eliezer. He was the chief posek of Shaarei Tzedek Hospital. Source number 6, Tzitz Eliezer of Levza Waldenberg, Zechat Tzadik Avracha. And he writes in source number 6, Kisnif nosav l'chol oimer yesh loisiv gamzot, denira shakavia adamad bezer debdika sugedam. Right? Amadait. What does that mean? Science, right? Ayidei bedika sugahadam. And then the yotzas akbonim begeder hashar shabasha husham. B'mnei she'onu royim b'harbe mikrim. We find in many cases, he says in source number 6, Shema shahamada koveya ledoros kayom. Certain science establishes today that something is a fact. They used to say that eating eggs is not healthy, right? Now they say that eating eggs is healthy, right? So he says you cannot rely on science to the paternity, because what science says today is vadai ba'avur zman ma kavua ba'atzma acheret mvatelet. Science changes their minds, right? So you can't, what they say is a fact today, later on they say it's the opposite. So he says, therefore, you cannot be somech on what? On what the Rofim say to determine who the child is. You hear? Paternity. It's not like if you take what mazat tzilum, X-ray, or reish sabi rabbanan shebezeh kain, who trying to establish who is the real father of the child, right?
No, but this is only for blood.
This is for blood test, okay?
DNA.
Or for blood test.
DNA, this is blood.
Blood, okay? So is there a difference?
Yes.
There is a difference, right? So look at source number 7. Rabbi Shlomo Avinar, I think he's the chief posek of Bethel, right? Source number 7, Rabbi Shlomo Avinar. He says, Harbe Migdola HaPoskim. You see source number 7? Harbe Migdola HaPoskim Shel Doreinu Kavu. Many of the great poskim rabbis of our generation have established Shebedikas Dam V'Rakamot. Mazet Dam V'Rakamot. Tissue and cells, no? Biyachas Likviot Avahot. To determine who is the father of this baby. Because the father says, it's not my baby, it's the milkman's baby. Or maybe it's the mailman's baby. He doesn't want to pay child support. He says that his wife fooled around and it's not really his child. You hear? So what does the rabbi say over here? So what about tissues and cells? Einoit tokfa m'chinas hilchatit. You cannot rely on tissues and cells to identify what? Who the real father is, right? And he quotes other rabbis, Yelema, Uziel, Rabbi Goen, Waldenberg, and other rabbis. Imkain, m'chinas hilchatit. Hayeled eino nechshav mamzer. You hear? Let's say the paternity, the test that they do, the tissue and cells, and it comes out that this baby, according to science, is not what? The baby of the father. So the father says, you see, my wife fooled around. So can you say that the yeled is a mamzer? Hayeled eino nechshav mamzer. The child is not considered a mamzer through the DNA testing. Why? Why is that? Because science is not infallible. Right? Maybe they make mistakes. What they say is sure today, tomorrow they change their mind. So you can't say that the child is a mamzer, even though that according to the testing, it's not the same tissue and cells as what? As the husband, as the father. Hayeled eino nechshav mamzer. You could wonder about that. But according to science, science proves that he is not the father of this child, the husband. And we know that science, what do they write? 99% of the time they say that DNA is what? Correct? Right? But halacha is not established through what? Through what science says. Why is that? Torah was not given over to angels. Microscope, telescope. You hear what he said? This is Rav Shlomo Avinar. Rav Shlomo Avinar, he's the chief rabbi of Bethel, that the Torah was given over to what human beings decide, and Torah is not given over to microscope, to telescopes. He says, 100 years ago, Hayelet Hazeh would not be a mamzer. 100 years ago, when you had no DNA testing, this child would not be a mamzer. Va'atahu nepach lemamzer. And today, now he is a mamzer, Ekev. Taglit medat, because science says he's so. You're going to trust the Torah, you're going to trust science. Kol ha-Torah nitna piriyat b'nei Adam. The Torah is only given over to what a human being can see. The famous example is, Rabbi Yaakov, the Orech HaShulchan asked Chava, how can you drink water? If you take a look at water under a microscope, there's a lot of creepy crawlers there. How can you drink water? It's crawling with buggies. So the Orech HaShulchan says, Loi nitne Torah lemelachei hasharet. The Torah is not given to angels. What does that mean, Ruvain? If you can't see the buggies, they're not there. So you can drink water, even though it's full of what? Bugs and germs. As long as the naked eye cannot see it, it's not a problem.
That's good.
Because the Torah is not given over to angels.
But now the rabbis are making a big fuss over what fish you use. Yeah.
Again, you can't fool God. If you can see the bugs with your naked eye, then you cannot eat it. But if you can't see the bugs with your naked eye, it's not a problem. You have to wash off the lettuce.
How about with
But you don't need microscope. You don't need what?
Mishkafayim?
Yeah. I asked that kasha to Rav Tuvia Goldstein, Zeichat Salik Lavracha. I asked him that kasha. It's on a tape. In 1986, I asked him your kasha. Rav Tuvia Goldstein, the great posek, he quotes his Aruch HaShulchan. He says, you're not supposed to use a microscope or a telescope to look for bugs on lettuce. If the naked eye can't see it, it's not there. So I asked him Chava's question, what about glasses? He says, glasses, that just restores the eyes to what it once was. Unlike a microscope or a telescope that magnifies. So that doesn't count. But glasses, he says, that just restores, he makes a difference. You can't, if you take off your glasses, you can't see the bugs. And you put on your glasses, you can. So that game you can't play, he said. Because glasses just restores to your vision to what they should be. So when you examine for buggies on lettuce, you have to wear your glasses. You don't use a telescope. You don't use a microscope. But glasses doesn't magnify. It doesn't make it bigger. It just restores to the eyesight what it should be. So therefore, when you're examining lettuce for bugs, you should wear glasses, but you should not use a microscope. Rav Tuvia Goldstein, 1986. Okay, yes?
These guys use a big magnifying glass to look at their lulav.
That's shtuyot. Rivka, that's shtuyot. Some people say, don't confuse me with the facts. The Aruch HaShulchan, Rav Tuvia Goldstein, Zeichat Salik Lavracha, two great poskim, all say if you can't see the pgam or the bug with the naked eye, it's not there. So you can take a microscope to examine holes in an esrog, it's shtuyot. If the naked eye can't see the hole, it's not there. But some people say, don't confuse me with the fact. The next time you see someone using a magnifying glass, ask him how you're drinking water. If you take the magnifying glass in a drop of water, it's full of creepy crawlers. Ah! So don't drink water. Remember the movie, Don't Drink the Water? Don't drink the water. It was a movie like that. Don't drink the water. Don't drink.
Listen, some people need a magnifying glass to get to the place that his eyes really...
That's what Chava meant. It's glasses. Glasses.
Yeah, but some people
But
need
some people
a
even
smaller
use
glass.
magnifying glasses to
They don't
read.
make them bigger than 4. And he might need a magnifying glass
So that's-
to get to what was
I asked,
normal.
Chava asked that question. I asked that question in 1986 to the great poster of Tuvia Goldstein. He says, glasses is not like a magnifying glass. Glasses just restores your eyes to what they should be. Unlike a magnifying glass, which distorts it. It's bigger than it really is. That you don't use.
So if you see a bug with a magnifying glass,
It doesn't count. If you can, or you can't fool God, Elisheva. You can't fool God. If you can't see the bug with the naked eye, with glasses, it doesn't count.
Who's naked eye? In other words, some people are born before glasses.
Okay.
Born with weak vision. So who's naked eye?
Who's naked eye?
That's in the eye of the beholder.
Oh, the eye, the beauty in the eye of the beholder. The bug is in the eye of the beholder. The buggy is in the eye of the beholder. Which means what?
Which means, for example, if I'm in a tough situation, I have to buy a lulav or a network. I don't have much money, and it's very expensive. I don't want to take a chance. I can take my glasses off and not see the problem.
No, Tuvia Goldstein said you can't do that. No. Glasses just restore the eyesight to what it should be. Right? But glasses you have to wear, but not a magnifying glass. That's how you paskin.
It's indeed in the eye of the one who's making the decision.
Okay? Yes?
So if you're blind, you can see anything.
What, if you're blind? No. No. You can't play that game. If another person can see the bug, right, without what? A magnifying glass?
Without magnifying.
It's there, and you can't eat it, right? Yes?
If you go along with these post-kits,
We're not finished yet. We just scratch.
just want to,
It's not the
a
punchline.
lot of things, a lot
E-
of scientific
Yeah.
discoveries that they make in this machon here, right?
Right.
For Shabbat, things you can do.
Right.
In other words, science, throw it out the window, go back to the old days when everything, so you can't accept anything, new scientific invention.
So these poskim are a minority. They've been outvoted. If you turn over to side 2, Rivka, the other poskim, 2 Jews, 3 opinions. Okay? Okay. So if you turn over the paper, please. All right? You turn over the paper. Source number 12, you have it even in English. See source number 12? Rav Chaim Schechter, one of the great poskim. Source number 12. Poskim, you have it? I'll read it. Source number 12, Chava. It's in English. Poskim have recently been asked to address the halachic status of what? DNA testing. Our question. Poskim do not accept or require a DNA test to determine an individual's status as mamzer. Yeah? Poskim do not accept or require that the husband says, my wife fooled around with the milkman, the baby is not mine, it belongs to the milkman, so I don't have to pay no child support. So, poskim do not accept or require a DNA test to determine an individual's status as a mamzer. So even though the kid doesn't have the DNA of what? Of the husband, that does not say that the kid is a mamzer. You hear this? Rivka. So, Rav Shmuel Vosner, Nissen Karelitz, you have that? Yeah. And the other rabbis' responsive published in Shuvas Kure Ashir. Okay. However, there's always a however there. See that? Yes. However, Rav Shmuel Vosner, Rav Nissen Karelitz, rule, so even though you can't use DNA to say the child is what? A mamzer, but they rule that DNA is admissible. Elisheva, you have that in English? That DNA is admissible as partial evidence together with what? Corroboratory evidence to determine the identity of a missing husband. A husband is gone, and the wife wants to remarry, and there's no body. I ain't got nobody. So the woman is an aguna. She wants to remarry. There's no body, but there's DNA from this body who's been disfigured, and you can't tell who the body is. So can you use DNA from this body to let the woman remarry? Huh? So that's the question. That DNA is admissible as partial evidence together with other evidence to determine the identity of a missing husband. They believe that DNA evidence constitutes a simin benoni. What does a simin benoni mean? A so-so sign that what? That the husband is really dead, even though you can't recognize the face. Decomposition. So it's very problematic. Can the woman be released to remarry? So they say, Rav Wosner, Rav Karelitz say, that DNA is partial evidence with other evidence to determine the identity of a missing husband to allow the woman to remarry. In fact, Rav Yonah Rees, the director of the Beth Din of America, reports, you have this? Elishev, you have it? That Rav Eliashav also ruled in the context of the World Trade Center agunot. Many women, the bodies were vaporized. And then many agunot, 9/11. So can the women remarry? There's no body. They're missing. Maybe the husband survived and who knows where he is. So the great Eliashiv ruled in the context of the World Trade Center agunot that even though the bodies have been vaporized, that one may partially rely upon DNA evidence for identification purposes to allow the husband to what? To allow the wife to remarry. So even though there's no body, but they found DNA pieces, and that's enough. You hear this? Rav Vadia Yosef agreed to be mater agunot, Chava. To be mater agunot. Rav Wosner, Rav Karelitz much prefer a DNA test using a sample from the missing person's personal effects, such as hair from his hairbrush or saliva from a toothbrush, than a DNA test that uses the DNA of immediate family to make an identification. Rav Zalman Goldberg wrote at some length on this issue and concludes that DNA evidence constitutes a siman muvak biyoter. What does that mean? A very good siman. Rav Zalman Goldberg wrote at length on this issue and concludes that DNA evidence is a siman muvak biyoter, a very good sign that halacha can use that what? That even though you can't find the body, they find the DNA to allow the aguna to what? To remarry. Yiddish? He notes that since the chance of error regarding DNA evidence ranges from 1 billion to 1 to a what?
5 billion.
Quintillion.
It far exceeds the requirement that a siman, a sign, be shared by less than 1,000 people in order to constitute a siman muvak, which means an excellent sign. Rav Goldberg draws an analogy between DNA evidence and Rav Yitzchak HaKona's ruling that a photograph, Yiddish Elisheva, Yitzchak HaKona, when he lived, there was no DNA, but they did have what? Cameras. So Rav Goldberg draws an analogy between DNA evidence to allow the wife to remarry and Rav Yitzchak HaKona's ruling that a photograph of a missing husband showing that what? He is dead is sufficient evidence of his death to allow the wife to what? Remarry. Yiddish? And Rav Avadia Yosef agrees that a photograph of the husband after he's dead, Yiddish, they can recognize the face. That's called the simin muvak bayota, an excellent sign. A photograph of a dead body, and they can recognize the face that the husband is dead, and that's a siman muvak to allow the wife to what? To remarry. It is important to note that the Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, seems to regard DNA evidence as what? Conclusive evidence regarding all areas of halacha. Rivka, how about that? The great Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. Some people say, don't confuse me with the facts, but he says, DNA evidence is conclusive evidence regarding all areas of halacha.
No, but then he says that.
Rabbi, what? That's right. You two rabbis, 3 opinions, okay? But according to Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, in Nishmat Avram, regards DNA evidence as conclusive evidence regarding all areas of halacha. Rabbi Eliezer Wallenberg is cited as ruling that DNA evidence constitutes partial evidence. Whatever that means, you need corroborating evidence. The Best Din of America partially relied upon DNA testing in the identification of, during the World Trade Center disaster, of the husband that you can't find a body, and hundreds of agunot, Chava, were free to be married just when they find particles in DNA. Yes, Ruvain?
I think with Rav Avadia Yosef, which was the Yom Kippur War,
Go ahead.
and 9/11, was the Koach Lahatir was just to render a beneficial decision,
Right.
not to harm anybody. Because all it did was free someone who maybe could not get remarried, allow them to get remarried.
But you're dealing with adultery. If the husband is really not dead, the woman is committing adultery. And the child is a mamzer. So you need wide shoulders, Ruvain, to accept DNA when there's no body and there's no wide shoulders to say that this woman is no longer married. Because adultery is one of 3 cardinal sins. And the child is a mamzer, yes?
I need you to spell this out for me a little more clearly.
Right.
The World Trade Center tragedy, Hatzalah or whatever, they picked up particles of DNA, right? That's what they collected.
That's what they collected.
Right? They collected all kinds of. Now, is DNA so specific? I'm not a scientist. So specific that you can take a molecule from a hairbrush or from a toothbrush and match it to a DNA molecule that they collected at the site of the World Trade Center?
Yeah.
Is that what they're saying?
That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. That's exactly what they're saying. Right?
Having the same DNA
there, 1 in a billion, or
1 in a billion.
1 in a billion.
Or 1 in quintillion, whatever.
Look at 12. You see 12?
Yeah.
The chance of error regarding DNA evidence ranges from 1 billion to 1 to 1 quintillion to 1.
Quintillion, what number is quintillion?
5,
5 billion.
100 billion.
A billion with 9 ones, and a billion is 1,000 million, right?
Yes.
A billion is 1,000 million.
Different.
10 to the 18th.
Rav
That's more than-
Shlomo,
It's like 1 in half the population of the world.
Right.
and Rav Eliezer Waldenberg says it's only
Partial evidence.
1,000 million.
Yes.
something else to corroborate.
That's right, but not according to Rav Shlomo Zalman.
A big difference.
A big difference. Rav Shlomo Zalman says that evidence of DNA is conclusive evidence. You don't need any corroborating. Rav Eliezer Wallenberg argues with him and says it's only partial evidence.
Well, if the husband worked in the World Trade Center.
Right.
And he was there.
And he was there. And what happened to him?
That's,
He vaporized. Where is he?
that plus the DNA is sufficient.
Okay.
But even if they didn't have DNA,
Yeah.
that means
That's very problematic. If there's no DNA, the husband disappears. Maybe he made it out and he decided to run away. That's,
He's in a hospital somewhere.
That's
Don't
very.
yeah. What? Yes, Rabbi.
Obviously, nobody in this room is going to argue with these posts.
Right.
But you have to ask yourself a question. How does this differ from the question of the bugs in the water? If you have enough scientific evidence, it's like 1 chance in a billion or what have you, why should it only be partial evidence?
Why should it only be partial evidence?
This is what the scientists see,
Right.
right?
Right. So therefore, number 13 sums it up for you. Then we'll go back to 10.
I don't think you should.
You want to go to 10 first? Let's go to 10 first, then we'll go to 13. Just go to number 10, Rav Yaakov, to answer your question. Let's go back to 10, Elisheva. You put on your glasses, you go back to 10. Don't put microscope, just glasses. No microscope. No magnifying glass. Right? Number 10, Chavi, you with me? Sech Chulin. How do we know? How do we know that in Judaism you follow majority? How do you know you go after the majority? Rav Mari Omar, source number 10, the parsha we read on Shabbos, no kawinky dinky. I'm giving this year the parsha we read on Shabbos. The parsha we read on Shabbos, Shoshana, source number 10, Mishpatim, says in source 10, Shmos Chaf Aleph, you have that? It says, Makka ove v'imo. Someone strikes a parent and makes a wound. The Omar Rachmana Katle. The Torah says someone strikes a parent and makes a wound. It's capital punishment. The child must be executed for striking a parent. V'leichish dilma lav avivhu, Rabbi Yaakov. How can you execute what? The son for striking his father. Maybe he's not really his father. Maybe his mother had an affair with the milkman while the father was on a business trip. So how can you, Shelley, how can you execute this guy for striking his father? Dilma lav avivhu. Elisheva, maybe he's not really his father. Maybe he was a traveling salesman.
It's a kasha.
You hear the question? You want to kill somebody for striking a parent to come, and maybe it's not his parent. How do you know? Maybe it's not really his father.
Maybe it doesn't matter.
Of course it matters. If he strikes someone that is not his parent, he doesn't get executed, he pays a monetary fine. You're going to kill somebody for striking his father, maybe he's not really his father.
What if he raised the kid?
It doesn't matter.
You paid him. Not
Doesn't matter. You can only give a monetary fine. Elolav, Rabbi Yaakov, source number 10, Shoshana. Elolav, B'shem Damrinan, Zil Basaruba. We go after what? The majority. Incredible. V'rov be'ilot achar baal. Elisheva, are you sitting down for this? She might have had an affair with the milkman, but most of her intimacy was what? With hubby. So we go after the majority, even though she played around, but most of her intimacy was with hubby. So therefore, the majority of the Be'ilah, the majority of her sexual encounter was the husband. So we say that the child did strike really his father. Oh, you hear this? Mimai. Dilma kigon shoy aviv imoy chavushim bebeit asura afil hachi, whatever. So whatever it is,
What does it mean?
that even let's say that the father and the mother were both in jail. So what? The father and the mother were both in jail. So afil hachi ein apotropos larayit. So let's say the mother fooled around with the prison guard, right? Still, even though she did fool around with the prison guard, she was jailed, but the majority of her intimate act were with her husband. So we assume that this child really struck his real father. So you see, you work with what? With majority rules. Okay? You work with majority, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't execute this guy. Look at number 13. Mordechai Halpern, you know him? Yes. Mordechai Halpern, he sums it up very nicely. See 13? Elisheva. Ra Re'ez Dirat Mamorim Benosazeh B'Sefer Asya. He says this whole topic is found in B'Sefer where? Asya. V'ra'od B'Nishmas Avram. Chatumin Encyclopedia. Tuchumin Encyclopedia. Hilchet V'Fuit. V'yesh L'tzayin La'rois Hagon V'Shloim Zalman Orbach. Zecher Tzadik Avracha. B'Sefer Asya. Sham Nishmas Avram. Sham Shedina, listen to this. Shall Bedika Zu, which Bedika? DNA. He Mochiach. Rov. V'Safek. V'lechein Efsher Lishtamish Ba. Rak Kisnif Bovad. Here. V'lo Kibir Vadai. But. Ulam, Ucha Yoter, but later on, Shlomo Zalman what? Changed his mind. Yiddish of Yaakov. Ulam. What does Ulam mean? But Mu'uchar Yoter, in a later tshuva, Elisheva, you getting this? In a later tshuva, Kostev Agon of Shlomo Zalman Orbach, they via Devara Benishpat Ram Sham, and this is the bottom line. Fasten your seatbelts, Nechama. So the rabbis go back and forth. A rabbi can change his mind. Well, his final psak on the matter, Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, the great tzaddik, passed away in 1994. The bottom line, you're looking at it. The Ko'et Katav Li. Rav Mordechai Halpern got a correspondence from whom? Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. Katav Li, going with Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, Shlita, right before he died. Really? Yes, to Rav Halpern, Ach, but Im Habdika Hazot, listen to this, Rabbi Yaakov. Ach, but Im Habdika Hazot, if this Bedika, which Bedika? DNA, Mufursam, Umukuba Bakala Olam, is publicized and is accepted by all the world that it what? Is facts on the ground. Al Yidei Harbe Nisyonot, many testings, Brurim, L'dovar emet u'barur. So therefore we say halacha lives in the real world. And therefore it is brurim l'dovar emet u'barur that what? That the evidence is acceptable on DNA, even though there's no body.
That's what he said before.
What?
That's just what he said before.
Okay, mistaber, shegam mitzad halacha. So a correspondence that Mordechai Halpern got from Rav Shlomo Zalman right before he passed away, he has it in writing, that since DNA is mufursam imukubal b'chala olam, in many tests, therefore the matter is clear and true. Mistaber shegam mitzad halacha, also halachic wise, you can what? Count on it. At kan lishono. Here. V'omeli hagoin. D'hu adin legabe what? Kiviut, avut, amuvay. Also to establish what? Paternity. Who the father is. You can rely on what? On DNA. The husband says, it's not my child. He doesn't have my eyes. He doesn't have my hair. He doesn't have my nose. He looks like the mailman. Ruben. What? Vahainu, listen to this. The punchline. That's when you get any mail lately. You see that? The mailmen stay away. They don't want to get... Vahainu, the bottom line. Chava, no, what's the bottom line? Mom, literally, the bottom line. Vahainu shenitein lismoch al bidika zu gam le'inyan mamzerut. You can rely on this test, DNA, not just to free the what? The wife from being an aguna, but also to say that this child is a mamzer. That's just incredible.
That acts against Rove.
Why?
Because that is a...
No, but the DNA is 1 in a billion. That's better than a rove. That it's not his child.
You say, like the previous one that you pointed out said, most of the woman's relationships are with her husband.
Right.
But acting against that is DNA.
Which is 1 in a billion. That's incredible what you're saying. So even though rove be'ilot go achar habal, but in the face of DNA, that's incredible, Rabbi Yaakov. You make a tremendous point.
Even if it's 1 in a million in favor this way,
Yeah.
you still go rove. Which one do you take? That she spends most of her time with her real husband, right? Or
Yes,
the DNA?
but the DNA is so infallible that even though most of her intimacy was with hubby, the DNA establishes without a fact that this time it was the milkman. Just incredible. The Shlomo Zalman would say this, you can rely on this test of DNA not just to release the wife as an aguna, gam le'inyan mamzerut. That the husband can claim halachi, it's not my child, and I don't have to give him support. And I can divorce my wife without paying the ketubah. That's just incredible. Because if a woman commits adultery, the husband can divorce her without paying a ketubah. Chava, so he has no proof. There are no witnesses. This is just unbelievable. You need really wide shoulders. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, sheniten lismech al bedika zu gam le'inyan mamzerut. That the husband can say, it's not my child, and therefore the wife committed adultery, so therefore I'm allowed to divorce her without paying the ketubah, and I'm not obligated to pay child support for this child, Reuven. That's just amazing. Rav Shlomo Avinar doesn't agree, right? But Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, the great, says that, wow, yes, Reuven?
Can't the woman argue, say, the Torah requires 2 witnesses
right.
against me,
And you're changing the law. That's the Shlomo Avinar. His point is 100 years ago, there was no DNA. So 100 years ago, the child would not be a mamzer. Now the child's a mamzer, you're changing the Torah. Shlomo Zalman says you're not changing the Torah. The Torah remains the same, but now we have new facts.
We have new ways.
We have new facts, and the Torah is not changing. 100 years ago, we didn't have these facts. Now we have the facts.
Now we do.
Remember Dragnet?
Yeah.
Just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts. Dragnet.
You know what the bottom line is?
What? Literally, the bottom line is what? What?
You know which Rav to ask.
You have to know which Rav to ask. That's just the buzz.
That's against the rule.
Right, if you ask one, you can't ask. Reuven, you don't ask another one. So you're right. That's your point, Reuven, is taken by Shlomo Aviner. You go to source number 7. Go to source number 7.
No, but they're just interpreting. It's not, the Torah just says who is a mamzer. Doesn't say how to test who is a mamzer.
Yeah. But 100 years ago, we didn't know that this can tell us who a mamzer is. Today, we can. You're not punishing the woman. You can't punish a woman through DNA that she committed adultery. That you need what? Witnesses. But to establish paternity of the child, then you can use DNA. The Torah is not changing, but we have new facts today which we didn't have 100 years ago.
I mean, she loses a little bit.
She loses her ketubah, but she's not punished any other way.
They don't stone her.
No, that you need eyewitnesses, right? And that you don't have.
The questions are comparing apples and oranges.
Go ahead.
A woman is alone with a man, there are two witnesses, that's one thing.
Okay,
A baby is born, that's another thing.
right.
If the baby is born, you look at the DNA. Whether she fooled around with another guy, you need two witnesses.
To punish her.
Yeah, I'm saying.
To punish her. Otherwise you can't punish her. Two separate things.
One is an act and the other is the result of an act.
Right,
Which may or may not be the result of that act.
right.
DNA will tell you whether it was or it wasn't. The act itself might be wrong and punishable,
But not by human court. But
the baby is not from that act.
and therefore the husband can say, I don't have to pay child support.
Right.
And I can divorce my wife without paying a ktuba.
There's two separate things.
So ladies got to be careful, huh? What?
Mail deliveries and there's
Men
non-guilt
wrote
deliveries.
the halachot.
Men wrote the halacha.
The bottom line, if you're gonna do these kind of things, make sure you're an identical twin.
Make sure you're what?
An identical twin.
Identical twin.
Worried that you're slandering the mailman?
Fool around with an identical twin.
I don't mean mailman. I mean, another husband. It happens, you know.
Say DNA. That's right.
What? Unfortunately, you know, sometimes, you know, things happen in the heat of passion, and then you regret it. But anyway, we could just work with what the halacha tells us over here, right? And the Tzitz Eliezer and then the other poskim here. But the bottom line is, well, it depends which rabbi you ask. What? But the greatest accepted posek is Shlomo Zalman, no? I think, right? And also Rabbi Yosef goes along with him. I didn't bring it here, but Rabbi Yosef goes along with Shlomo Zalman Auerbach and Halach, and he also allowed many agunas to be released. He also with the World Trade Center working with the DNA.
Could they do the DNA for all the men that were killed at that time?
They found, just amazing
They
that
really had to find something?
some particle of a body, and then
Yeah,
some part,
not just one molecule, but a small, very small part.
incredible.
But
To,
they didn't, and the man really was killed.
yeah.
Wow, they have
If they find nothing, that's very. What about the Dakar? Remember the Dakar, the submarine that went down in 1968, and you never found any bodies. What about all of these women?
So they were,
They're Raguna, and finally the rabbis. You remember what year it was when they decided that
that they could
remarry?
How many
But many years, no, Shana,
years did it take the Rabbanim to find out?
many years, because they found that they kept him in Aguna. They kept him in Aguna.
They finally stayed.
Finally, they said that they decided that he's never coming back, right? That he's never coming back, and there's an amazing. I got to tell you this. Moshe Feinstein, Zechet Tzadik Levracha. You can look to the Igros Moshe. After the war, the Holocaust, there were hundreds of women that came to him. They wanted to remarry. There's no body. The husband disappeared in the camps, the crematoria, there's no body, there's nothing. They asked for what? A heta to remarry. And he was matir hundreds of agunot. Hundreds. Moshe Feinstein, took it upon himself to be matir Rabbi Yaakov, hundreds of, you gotta hear the story, hundreds of agunot, no body, they disappeared. They disappeared because they were in the crematoria. Nothing was left. Nobody. So but there's nothing. So they went to Rabbi Moshe Feinstein and his bezdin. He was matir hundreds of agunot. Listen to this, Chava. One day. One day. 1 minute. He's sitting with his talmidim in MTJ in the Lower East Side. A woman comes in screaming, Rebbe, what did you do to me? You ruined my life. You told me I can get married. I got married, and I have a child with my new husband, and my old husband came back in a DP camp. He was stuck there for years, and he came back. Rebbe, you ruined my life. I did committed adultery. I have a mamzer. What did you do to me, Rebbe?
Nothing.
Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, you know, he was such a calm, never became upset, calm, gentle. He turns white. So Talmidim are sitting there, dozens of Talmidim. He turns white and he starts yelling, "Ihr seid a Ligner, ihr seid a Ligner." Over and over again, "At shakranit, at shakranit." Begins shaking. The Talmidim thought he's going to have a heart attack.
And what does that mean?
At shakranit, ihr seid a Ligner, ihr seid a Ligner. Over and over again. Talmidim was shocked. Their Rebbe would talk like that to a woman and yell at her, a Ligner, and he's shaking like he's going to have a heart attack. Yeah. And he keeps yelling over and over again. You're a liar. You're a liar. And the woman breaks down and she begins to cry, "Yes.
Really?
I'm a liar. I wanted to stick it to you, Rabbi, because last year I had a dispute with my landlord. And I came to you with a din Torah. With my landlord, you ruled against me in favor of my landlord. You cost me hundreds of dollars, and I wanted to stick it to you." So the Talmidim were shocked. You hear this? Rebbe, how did you know? Are you a Navi? How did you know that she's a liar? He says, "I'm not a Navi. But one thing I know. The Mishnah says, Da mala mala mimcha. If you want to know what God rules up there, mimcha. If my Bezdin ruled that her husband is dead, then he couldn't be alive. I'm not a Navi. But we decide, if halacha, da mala mala, if you want to know what the Bezdin Shalmala is saying, mimcha. What does mimcha mean? If Bezdin Shalmata ruled, you can look this up in Igros Moshe. Dozens of Talmidim, they were shocked, the Rebbe is a Navi. If Bezdin Shalmata ruled that this woman, what? Is an almana, then there's no way that the husband could be alive. She must be lying.
Wow, there's no other.
Because God guides the hands of the rabbis. She broke down. "Yes, Rabbi, I wanted to frame you. You ruled against me, against my landlord. You cost me hundreds of dollars in those days, hundreds of dollars in back rent. I wanted to stick it to you." But he kept yelling at her until to cause her to what? To confess that she's a Ligner.
A liar.
Shaking white, the Rebbe thought he was going to have a heart attack. Unbelievable. Yes?
I had a friend, unfortunately she passed away young.
Yes.
She was born in Europe.
Yes.
Her mother survived, she survived, they came to America. Years and years, never heard anything about the father. Mother remarried. I mean, I don't know who told her or if she asked or whatever. She remarried. Years later, somebody was in Russia. Her father had become a communist, stayed in Russia, and they found the father, and it was her father. And he came and visited them in America. So it did happen.
Did she have any children with her second husband?
Yeah, my friend was from she was from the first husband.
Was
I don't
it-
know if she had.
That
But
would have been
anyway, it did happen. I knew for a fact.
That what?
It happened that the husband was alive and she
Even though Bezdin ruled? Even though Bezdin ruled?
She was a Hungarian, very frum woman.
Hungarian Bezdin, I don't know about. Was it a Hungarian Bezdin? Not by Moshe Feinstein's Bezdin. What?
We don't know like that, but say sure.
What? Now let me tell you, you forced my hand. You look in the Noide Yehuda of Cheskel Landau in Prague in 1796, Nechama. The great posik in Noide Yehuda. A woman was in a guna for years. And she kept pleading to Noida Yehuda's Bezdin. She wants a get. The husband's probably dead. So after years and years, he ruled that what? The husband is dead. And what? She's an almana. She got married.
Again.
She got married. She had kids. Years later, the husband showed up to town. The Noida Yehuda says, "Get out of here, you're dead. You're a zombie. Get the hell out of here, or I'll kill you myself." Look at the Noida Yehuda's tshuva. He said, "You're a zombie, get the hell out of here. You're walking dead. If I ruled you're dead, you're dead."
Is this true?
Noida Yehuda.
So was his mom's there or not?
No.
If the halacha said that she's permitted to remarry, da mala mala mimcha. Chaim Volozhin says, if you want to know what the Bezdin Shalmala says, mimcha.
Rabbi Sprecher, how do you know which?
Noida Yehuda.
How do you know which Bezdin to trust? There are Bezdin and Bezdin.
We're talking about acknowledged Bezdin by the Orthodox world. Rav Moshe Feinstein's Bezdin. Rav Moshe Feinstein's Bezdin. Rav Shlomo Zalman's Bezdin. Okay. The Noida Yehuda. You need better than him.
Not everybody's going to go.
What?
They're voting, right? What about people that vote? So that's it.
You gotta find the best Bezdin that you can find. Right? What?
There was a case during 9/11.
Go ahead.
A man from Brooklyn phoned his rabbi and said, "I'm going to die. I'm going to be burned up. And everything. Can I jump out the window so that they'll have my body so my wife won't be able to live?" Now you have no time to make a decision here. The rabbi, he said yes.
The rabbi said you can jump out the window?
He said,
Commit suicide?
yeah, that's a story.
Find the Bible.
That's like a fun. Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
And the rabbi said to commit suicide?
The rabbi said,
He did.
well,
But how do you know? But you know, Rav Chananya ben Tradian, Nechama, the Gemara in Tainus, Rav Chananya ben Tradian was being taken out to be murdered, one of the 10 martyrs. Nechama, remember the Gemara in Avodah Zarah, Sech Avodah Zarah? So they put his body, they put on his heart wet sponges to prolong the agony. So the Talmidim said, "Rebbe, why don't you open up your mouth and let the fire go in to kill you faster? Why you keep your mouth closed and you're suffering more? Open up your mouth and let the fires consume you and you won't suffer so much." So he said, only the one who gives life can take it. Even though he's going to die in the next 5 minutes, you have no right to take your own life. Wow. No right to take your own life. So he purposely kept his mouth closed and let the flames do it, not to speed up his own death. So I don't know how the rabbi can go against the Gemara like that in Avodah Zarah. I don't understand that.
I thought the same thing you're saying, and the only thing I can say is that I don't want to have to be in a situation like that.
Chas v'sholom, nobody should be, but I don't think the rabbi can rule that, because you never give up hope, right? Even if the sword is on your neck, al tiyayesh min harachamim, right? You never know. Maybe something can. Right? Thank you very much.